Hi, I'm Mark Edwards. Welcome to Travelogue and welcome to Qingdao, where they like to ha pijiu and chugala, which is local dialect for drink beer and eat clams. It's a city of almost 3 million people who are blessed to be by the sea and with temperatures that rarely exceed 30 degrees. There's a whole pantheon of tourist attractions, historical, cultural things for us to see. So let's go discover it.
Well, it's a lovely Sunday morning and the perfect time to go and check out morning services at the Protestant church in Qingdao. Built in 1910, it was the first German church in the city. The Jidu Jiaotang, as it's known in Chinese, is one of Qingdao's quieter and more interesting sites. Although recently renovated, this church still retains most of its original style and charm. But what's even more impressive, as you'll find out if you make it in time for the service, is the sheer volume of people in attendance. The reason people are sitting on every available patch of ground is that the church is quite simply packed to the rafters inside, despite its seating capacity of over 1,000 people. The Jidu Jiaotang is an elegant structure featuring a red tiled roof and a clock tower, complete with a clock that still keeps the time. As timepieces were rare in China in the old days, the local residents relied on this clock to check the time, which explains the popular name for the church, the Clock Tower. Anyway, don't worry if you can't make it inside, as there are speakers on the outside, so everyone can enjoy the service.
My home is London, and basically I'm now living in Qingdao.
You're living
my home now is Qingdao.
Your home is, you're now living in Qingdao, and you're fully Dutch or?
No, half Dutch, half Welsh.
Half Welsh, like me.
I understand your father is Welsh.
Yes.
And speaks Welsh.
Yeah.
In which case I have something to say for your father.
What is that?
15 Pope Sais.
Which means?
You don't want to know.
Okay. That's it. How long have you been attending the service here at the church for?
Since I come here 3 years ago.
3 years
every
ago.
week.
And is it always this packed?
No, it's usually more busy.
I can't believe that. Really?
Yeah. Usually you have to come at least 20 minutes before, otherwise you will not get a seat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. I couldn't believe there were people actually sat outside listening to the service.
At Christmas time you have to come 2 hours before, and there'll be 400 or 500 outside.
Wow.
Yeah. The beautiful thing is they're building a new church, which is going to be 10 times the size of this.
To accommodate all the people?
Yes, and that still is not enough.
Wow, and you mentioned that they were bringing in, there's going to be a new organ here as well.
Yeah, there's the original organ, which was unfortunately destroyed, and it's cost 4 million to bring it, and it's going to be built in Germany, and it's an exact replica, and it's going to come back to this church. And it's going to be beautiful to hear organ music in the church again.
Incredible.
The church not only welcomes tourists, but it's also available for weddings. It's even got a choir to add some harmony to your favourite hymns, in Chinese of course. We were lucky enough to witness a wedding at the church. These days in China, many of the wedding rituals resemble those in the West. There are similarities with the ceremony and the clothing worn, although a fireworks finale remains an important element of most Chinese weddings. While there may not be any fireworks displayed today, there's still most definitely a show. On the old Pichai Yuan, you'll be able to come for a cup of tea, some nibbles or a full-on meal, whilst the performance takes place in front of you. Once the band begins to whip everyone up into a frenzy, you'll get a real sense of being involved in the local lifestyle. These shows take place throughout the weekend, giving you that authentic taste of Chinese opera. For those who really appreciate this uniquely Chinese form of musical theatre, it's all about the expressions on the actors' faces, combined with the music illustrating the story. Along with the Greek tragic comedy and Indian Sanskrit opera, Chinese opera is one of the oldest dramatic art forms in the world. It can trace its roots back around 1400 years to when the first opera troupe was formed by the Tang Dynasty Emperor Taizong. Many of the stories played out are timeless, which is why you'll find so many of the older generations tapping or singing along. Don't worry if you don't understand what's going on though. Most of the locals get their knowledge from watching these performances over and over again. Just in case you need a few pointers, however, try and identify the characters by the colour of the paint on their faces. Red stands for loyalty and general goodness. Black stands for wisdom and bravery. Gold and silver represent the supernatural. Yellow and white represent cunning and treachery, and green and blue a rebellious streak, pride, cruelty, or a lack of self-control. Finally, the proportion of the face covered in the particular colour indicates the degree to which they embody that characteristic. But if nothing else, just enjoy the energy on and around the stage. We're still in the Pichai Yuan, but it's time to explore the streets.
So as you can see, this is the old street in Qingdao, filled with small stalls and restaurants, full of snacks and things to eat. Rather peckish at the moment. And it's really, obviously, I'm not sure we can translate across in the camera, but the smells coming out are delicious. And you go past a different restaurant and there seems to be a different smell coming from each one. Really fragrant. In all honesty, that's made me absolutely starving. I'm just smelling all of that stuff. I think we want to go and grab some food pretty soon. Oh, here. This is quite interesting. This essentially is the name of all the restaurants on the street, and the government will put in whether they find the restaurant great or just satisfactory. Good thing there doesn't seem to be any unhappy faces, so I'm pretty sure it's just great food, good food and great food as well.
Back in Roman times, there was a famous saying that all roads lead to Rome. Well, you wouldn't be far wrong if you changed the moniker in China to all roads lead to food. In Qingdao in particular, you'll find that seafood, quite logically due to its coastal location, is the main protagonist in the local diet. First established in 1902, the Pichai Courtyard, as it's known, cultivated its fame through serving an array of delicious dishes, but with a distinctly local flavour. And as you'll see, in terms of food, not much has changed.
So for those of you that are worried coming to Qingdao that all you're going to get to eat is seafood, fear not. We're in the snack street and you can find absolutely everything here. Of course there is seafood, but plenty more as well. Now let me explain what we've got here. Essentially you've got to visualize what you're going to eat. So here we've got the main ingredients. Pick the ingredients you want, then they'll stick it in the kitchen and cook it in whichever way.
Though seafood is abundant here, you can eat all sorts of dishes that reflect the Shandong cuisine style. Shandong cuisine is characterized by quick frying, stir frying, braising and deep fat frying. The food tends to be crisp, tender, delicious and greasy with some sweet and sour flavours. As you might guess, Shandong dishes can be a little salty, as salt is the main condiment used in cooking, although fermented soybeans and soy sauce also feature. Though it primarily attracts tourists and locals with its mouth-watering food, it has also developed into an entertainment area. These days, you can find more than 60 shops, hotels, stores and restaurants here, as well as the street performers. But this isn't just a gastronomic haven. Culturally and architecturally, there's plenty to be done around here. You'd be surprised at the number of people who actually come to Qingdao primarily for the European architecture found throughout the city. But do spare some time to take in the Chinese architecture. If you're familiar with the hutongs and courtyard houses of Beijing, you'll notice how different the everyday lives of the Qingdao people would have been throughout the 20th century. Back then, many families would have been living in this building with a central shared courtyard, unlike their single family counterparts in Beijing.
So I've arrived in one of the typical courtyard homes that you can find in Qingdao. Typical in that it has the same courtyard feeling as the Siheyuan in Beijing. However, they've melded together the slightly finer aspects of European architecture with Chinese architecture. So you'll find a tree in the middle, same rectangular shape, but stories built up above each other. And this is where back in the day the middle classes would have lived.
If you try and do Qingdao architecture in a day, you'll find that your head will in all likelihood be in a spin by the end. From elegant 20th century flats to regal cathedrals bang smack in the middle of town. Qingdao is arguably a city of polar opposites, melded together by a European influence that is deeper here than almost anywhere else in China.
So, we've taken a rather elongated detour and headed to a tiny little village in Bavaria, in Germany. Or at least, that's what it would seem like. We've got all the cobblestones behind, we've got the architecture which can resemble any European village, and St. Michael's Catholic Church behind me, which was built in 1934. We are, of course, still in Qingdao, in the old German part of town, but church is fantastic, and if you look up, the two spires can be seen from all over the city.
So you made it up the steep hill of Zhongshanlu and arrived at your own little taste of Bavaria. If surreal is your thing, then don't miss this chance to witness this imposing edifice. To add to the surrealism is the fact that you're likely to be surrounded by a gang of brides and grooms-to-be. In total contrast to the superstitious Western view that it's bad luck to see the bride in her gown before the wedding, it's almost a must-do here in China. What you'll see is the pre-wedding photos being taken, and this cathedral, together with the more quiet beaches, are a prime wedding shoot location. Despite being badly damaged during the Cultural Revolution, when the crosses on each spire were torn down and subsequently rescued, the cathedral remains an active place of worship. Mass is held here every Sunday. You'll also be able to have a taste of Chinese entrepreneurship as vendors muster outside selling crucifixes and souvenirs. The weather in Qingdao is particularly pleasant for much of the year, thanks to the influence of its coastal setting next to the Yellow Sea. Its summer climate is warm and the winters are relatively mild, especially when compared to the more northerly cities in China. July and August tend to be the hottest months in Qingdao, though there's always the possibility of heavy showers coming down, as this time of the year is the monsoon period. It may interrupt your efforts to get that perfect tan, but on the top side, the city is quickly enshrouded in a very atmospheric mist.
Hi, welcome to Qingdao's very own underwater world, home to a whole host of fascinating sea creatures hailing from such exotic locations as Australia, Singapore and even South America, also just plucked from outside on the shores. However, the one thing I'm really looking forward to is a shark, which I've been told is worth over 500,000 RMB. Is Jaws coming out of retirement?
No need to worry about the weather in this next place. Opened over 50 years ago, the Qingdao Underwater World consists of 4 main areas on both sides of the Leiyang Road, connected by an underground passage. Here you'll find the freshwater aquarium, the Marine Animal Performance Hall, the Biological Marine Specimens Hall and the Jellyfish Dream Palace. The moving platform will take you through a tunnel in the aquarium itself and provide you with a spectacular 360-degree view of this aquatic delight. It's an all-in-one experience with live shows, near-perfect recreations of natural habitats, a museum, and a room full of all sorts of jellyfish. Can't think of anything else you could ask for. In the Marine Museum, you'll be able to ogle at almost 2,000 specimens of aquatic organisms. Accumulated in the course of 60 years, it is China's most comprehensive collection of marine specimens. Take your time with the Chinese sturgeon and giant salamander, amongst other things. If you're looking to pick up some fish of your own at a nearby market, you might be interested to know that something with the unlikely name of red parrot is the most popular pet fish in Qingdao. It's also the most readily available, especially before Chinese New Year, when Chinese people often buy aquariums for good luck. The rare, bright and colourful angel-like fish quite rightly has a nice seating area by it, so that you can sit there transfixed by their movements. They dim the lights outside, which puts the spotlight firmly on these heavenly creatures.
So the underwater world was opened in 2003, and at the time, this was the largest tower of its kind in the whole world. Of course, as things are, it no longer is, but it's still in the top 5.
When I say of its kind, I mean it's the world's largest single acrylic cylinder show tower. And just so we're not accused of withholding any more vital information, if you're a keen diver or simply want to give it a go, then Qingdao Underwater World is as good as any place to start. They'll give you a quick crash course in breathing techniques, and before you know it, you'll be wetsuited up, diving in and swimming amongst the sharks. But don't worry if you're a beginner or simply can't stop playing that song from Jaws in your head. A dedicated professional would accompany you the whole way if you need it. Although technically still part of Qingdao and linked by a high-speed motorway, Huangdao, literally meaning Yellow Island, is the place to come if you really are sun, sea and sand hunting. It's much cleaner than Qingdao's beaches thanks to constant supervision and a dedicated team, and also much quieter. This might be explained by its distance from Qingdao city centre. But the Huangdao Peninsula is counted as a district of Qingdao and makes up part of the Qingdao Economic and Technological Development Zone, which focuses on 4 key industries, namely high-tech, petrochemicals, processing and manufacturing, and services.
Qingdao behind us, and we're on our way to Huangdao, which is the yellow island. It takes about 40 minutes. We've taken the slower boat. We're in no rush really, and there's the quicker boat over there. 20 minutes it will take, so have a quick look at that one.
So it's pretty clear that you're not taking a ferry away from Qingdao's beer and architecture for nothing. So what on earth could there be in Huangdao you can't get in Qingdao? The answer to that question is pretty simple: a higher quality of beach and a more developed tourism-centric approach to beaches. This place is custom made for you. Clean beaches, romantic promenades, clear signposting, and the most essential ingredient, that holiday feeling in the air. Being Huangdao's largest beach, the Golden Sand Beach offers travellers and beachcombers a golden sandy playground as far as the eye can see. Whatever your activity of choice by the sea, this is the perfect place. Tents and tables are available for rent by the hour, and there are dozens of kiosks with food, drinks, beach gear and souvenirs lining the seashore. I definitely recommend taking a day out of your busy schedule to visit Huangdao and its clean, quiet beaches.
On days like this, it's a perfect idea to come to Huangdao. It's very famous for its beach, but in particular for the sand on the beach, which is very, very thin and gold-coloured.
In my experience, it's quite rare to find a quiet beach whose quality of sand is so high. But even if this isn't up to scratch for you, then you should head to the Silver Beach. It's located on the southern part of Huangdao's rustic coastline, just a few kilometres south of the Golden Sand Beach. There you'll discover a stretch of undeveloped sand offering a getaway from the crowds, where you can while away the afternoon with friends or family.
Right, let's go motorboating.
The great thing about this area of Qingdao is that it's full of secluded places to discover. Say you've taken a beach night under the stars, there's also many other places that are relaxing and quiet to study or just read a book. And you'll quickly notice that clean and newly developed places with very few people rarely remain that way for long, so enjoy them whilst you can. The sun is setting and the end of our trip is approaching. Qingdao is as much about beer as it is a vestige of times gone by. There's European architecture, a thriving industry. It's an Olympic city with seafood galore it's culturally inspiring, and many other things besides. Who would have thought that an inconspicuous little fishing village would end up bringing so much to so many? We should all raise a glass to that.
Cheers! So airports can be the happiest and sometimes the saddest places, I find. Unfortunately for us, it's the latter, because that's all the time we've got left for today. I hope you've enjoyed our trip around Qingdao, discovering its history, its culture and its fun side. I'm Mark Edwards, and I'll catch you very soon on another episode of Travelogue.